Hello everyone and welcome to the 8th episode of the DevConnect show. Today our guest is from Bad Saulgau in Germany. He is a senior software engineer at Orbis AG. He is an open source believer and a big contributor to the community. Today he is here to talk about his tool called Power Kanban. So let's come and meet Florian Kroenert. Hey Florian, welcome to the DevConnect show.
Hi Dennis, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we have been trying to schedule this call for a very long time, and thank you for taking the time to come on the DevConnect show and then talk about your tool today.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure. So, yeah, communication took some time. I was very busy and needed some breath for being able to preparing everything, but now we're ready.
Yeah,
Finally.
yeah, and it's always good to take that break from the hectic work schedule because everyone is so busy nowadays. So it's always nice to take that break, relax, and then come back with a fresh set of mind. I always do that. I normally when I'm getting busy, I just go on vacations, 1 week vacation, take a break, and then come back with a fresh mind. So I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Great.
So we want to know your journey and how did you what's your progression in the Power Platform space. So can you share something about your journey in Power Platform?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a senior software engineer at Orbis AG in Germany, and my journey into the Power Platform started 8 years ago. So it was 2013, and I was starting a new job, and it was in the Dynamics CRM field, and we started with CRM 2011. So of course everyone was still on premise, and it was in UI and UX terms way before what we have today. So it's really quite awesome to see the progress actually now that I think of it. But it started in CM 2011, and I started as a developer, and I am still a developer.
Okay.
And at first it was mainly building plugins in C#, doing some form scripting. And when Microsoft released the Web API, it was the first time that I saw, okay, they released something cool, but we need to do a little bit of stuff to get it even nicer. And that was when I started my first open source project. It was a library for interacting with the Web API, for just making all those web requests for you, because you had to build them by hand basically in the beginning, and it was quite tedious. So I wrote a XRM Web API client, and it's still active to this day. And yeah, that was just what got me started on doing open source projects for Dynamics. So I just found my niche, I guess, for being able to keep myself at the topics, for staying up to date and trying new fun stuff, and trying to give something back to the community. We have so many open source tools, and just contributing your share always feels awesome, and you get to know so many awesome people. It's just fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And yeah, good that you brought up that XRM open source software project that you have out there. And you're the only person who's running it. That's what I saw. It's an organization that you have created on GitHub. You are the only person, but you have 13 repositories on it. And that's amazing. Like, you have your own repo where you have 20 plus repos. And then again, you have this XRM software, open source software repo where you have 13 libraries. So now we know that you started with the Web API, but then what all things can people get from this organization or from this repo?
Yeah, sure. So the most known one to this date, I think, is the one we are talking about today. It's Power Kanban. It's just a Kanban PCF for well, easing work inside Dynamics. We look into it later on, but there's plenty of other stuff. So stuff for easing translations inside Dynamics, customizations, even auto translating them with Bing and so on. So many topics that make life of consultants and developers easier because it's just faster, and some of the tasks are painful to do by hand. And one of the tools is one that I'm especially fond of because I always wanted to create a programming language, and a few years ago, it could be something like 2015, I thought that there should be something which eases templating in Dynamics, so text processing with inserting data from CM and so on. And I thought that would be a great candidate for writing my own domain-specific language. And what I did was to grab a super old tutorial from a physics professor, and he taught people to build interpreters in Turbo Pascal, and it was super cool. I took it for a weekend spin and wrote my own compiler, or well, it's rather an interpreter actually, in Turbo Pascal, and then I ported it to C#, and then I was able to have my own very basic programming language, which you can run inside Dynamics for doing text templating. And we'll take a little look at it later on. I think it's just nice to have something that's in place specifically for retrieving CM data and doing text templating inside it.
Yeah. We need a little preview of it because it sounds interesting, and then now that you talk about it, I think like you are gonna come again on the show to talk about the templating thing. But for sure, we'll see a little preview of it at the end, right?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah,
I think your show is really a great format for such things, because I often try to take a look which boot camps and so on are going to where to be submitted and where you can show your stuff. And many of the new boot camps are more Power Platform focused, and that's really an issue if we have just an environment inside Dynamics, because it often doesn't have this fixed scope to Power Platform. So
right.
Really glad that you have this show.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So yeah, you have a lot of experience, but then, and we can see that through your journey and also through the repos that you have created, the projects that you have created for the community. But then how do you keep up to date? Like one example you told about the COBOL Pascal, you wrote an interpreter, but I've seen that you write I've seen some good repos where you have automated some testing in web API helpers and whatnot. So how do you keep up to date with the kind of technology advancements that are happening?
Yeah, so of course I try to stay up to date. So when I see there's something new and interesting, I'll try to get on with it. So to try it as soon as possible. Sometimes it takes a little while. For example, I think PCF Power Kanban was first a web resource, so I took some time, but I migrated finally, and it was worth it. I try to stay up to date, but nowadays many of the new features, I think, are more targeted to Power Platform and so on, to the no-code, low-code platforms. And I really like coding, so I really get excited when I see some new coding possibilities and new stuff to do things that weren't possible before. And this is what gets me excited, and I try to do as much stuff as possible just in my free time. But of course, I start a lot of topics in my free time. So all of the repositories that are in this organization are topics that I started in private, so in the evenings when my family is asleep. And oftentimes there are crossovers. So when I have a solution and our customers deploy to their systems and they say, hey, that's cool, but I would need feature that, feature this. They say, okay, you can do this during your work hours, and I'm able to do some open source stuff at work as well, and that's also a nice bonus for me, because working on the open source project is always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it pays off in multiple ways.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, getting the time to do this community work or write code for open source for the community takes time, because you don't want to release some mediocre code as well, right? You want to release some high quality content so that people can consume, because if you're releasing something that people are not going to consume, then it's waste of your time as well as everyone else's as well. So but to create that high quality content, it takes a really really big deal and a lot of time and efforts. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, that's right. So it's open source, but my goal is to have at least as much quality in there as your usual non-open source project would have, so your proprietary product. And usually I even try to go a little bit above with UI testing, with unit testing, with just making sure that everything is running fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because for open source, it's even more important, I think, to have this quality assurance and to really watch out, because there's so much people who could use your solution, and you don't always get feedback.
Right.
So you don't want your software to be running wild and crashing systems, of course.
Right.
And
yeah,
it's even more important in those cases.
Yeah. No, I'm so, to be honest, I don't write unit tests because I'm lazy, but then I at least make sure that my deployments are all automated, so I don't have to waste time doing the deployment. So all of my repos, you will see that all are being automated with the ALM processes. So at least I'm doing that.
That's cool.
I'm not doing the unit testing, but I'm doing the ALM process at least. But yeah, so let's talk about your tool, and I would like to know how did you come up with this idea, and what made you think that Power Kanban would be a nice addition to the community as a PCF control?
Yeah, sure. So I came up with the idea in 2019, and 2019 was a really busy year at my company. So I had lots of customer projects, and I'm doing a little bit of module work and developer support at my company. So when you have 5 or 6 projects and other developers need your assistance as well, you have such a head after 2 hours of work, and after some works I said, I can't work like this. It's impossible. And I thought, how could I improve my situation? What would help me now? And I came to the conclusion that I don't have an overview at all. Where's the next deadline? Where do I have my tasks? And thought about a little bit about it, and I thought maybe a Kanban would help me to just sort out what's next. And what I even did was to get a little bit ahead of this. So I created a small Kanban solution. It was not yet in Dynamics. It was just a small HTTP server where I hosted a backend service, and I had a frontend with a really simple and stupid Kanban. And inside this Kanban, I created my work, and I saved it in my own backend on my local PC, and later on I even deployed it to a server in our company, and that got rid of my problem of not knowing where are the deadlines, which tasks do I have anywhere, but I still had people messaging me all the time, and I needed that to be fixed as well. So I went offline in Teams and just put a link to my own Kanban server in there, and I told people, if you need something from me, submit an issue in my Kanban. And it kind of worked. So of course it was only a temporary solution for the really high load time, but it really helped me get things straight. And of course afterwards I became online in Teams again and we could chat again. But it was really a good thing for that time. And afterwards, I thought during my commute, so I have like 45 minutes from my home to my workplace. So when I'm driving there, I have really much spare time, and I often think about things which I could do because I have kind of a restless mind. And I thought a lot of our customers at my employee are doing customer service, and I thought when you're a service agent and you have like 40 tickets, how can you possibly have an overview with only list views? And I thought, well, I couldn't work like that. And this was when my decision started to try developing a Kanban solution. And I just took some evenings, some mornings on weekends and on weekends, sorry, and started with a basic solution. And afterwards, I showed it to a few colleagues, and we have a big Christmas party every year, and it's in our headquarters. So we travel with our car, so with shared cars to the headquarters for the party, and we were like 6, 7, or 8 people in the car, and I said, what do you guys think about Power Kanban in Dynamics? And it was like 4 or 5 hours of travel time, and we were all talking the whole time about what could we need and what features would we need, and I was just writing it down all the time. And by the time we were there, I had such a big list of features, and I thought this could really become cool. And started taking it out, and I think it took like half a year till I thought, okay, that looks neat. I think we could make an alpha or something like that. And kept it internally for that time because I didn't know what could become of it. And I think it was in 2020 I saw that there were other Kanban solutions, so some from consulting companies and even some free ones. And I thought, okay, now or never. We release it now and we just see what happens after. And that was when I released it, made it public, and when I think it got some attention at least. So after it was visible in the PCF gallery, which is really useful for placing your PCFs, I started getting feedback, and that was just a thing for keeping it going. So when you get some feedback, it just motivates you to do more stuff and to keep it going. And well, that's how it grew and grew and grew. And we're not at the end, but I think we made quite some progress since the start.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's very neat, to be honest. I looked at it and it's very clean, neat design. But I've looked at it, so now how about you show our viewers how the Power Kanban looks, and then some techniques how to install it, and then something behind the scenes as well, if you can make that happen. So whenever you're ready to share your
sure.
screen.
Yes, I'm glad to. So can you see it?
Yep, coming up. Hold on. Yep, you can see it.
Okay, so the first thing that I would like to show you would just be the GitHub page, so that you know where to get started. So it's inside my XRM OSS repository, and it's named D365 Power Kanban. And well, you get there from PCF Gallery as well, basically. So this is where I do my development, and here at the bottom you already have some impressions, just to know which features there will be. And when you want to download a release, you can just go to releases, and you will find all my releases as managed solutions. And I always put some changelog inside the release notes stars when it's a new feature and little bugs when I fix the bug.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's basically it for getting starting here. And see, inside the export directory, I even have an unmanaged solution version because, of course, I have to use the trial Dynamics organizations for developing.
Mm-hmm.
And once they expire, I need to get it going again. So I need these unmanaged solutions as well. So I thought, why not make it public?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a small Kanban sample solution with just some pre-configured customizations for trying out some of the examples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just the basic stuff inside GitHub. You have a wiki inside here as well, where I tried to just write down as much documentation as I thought would be useful. I think we'll take a closer look later on. But now you wanted to see the control,
Yeah.
of course.
Of course.
All right. And that's it now in Dynamics. So of course it's a PCF, and it's a data set PCF. So it's really used inside lists of data, not inside your usual form fields or
Right.
something like that. And we take a look at the configuration later on. But what you can see for now is that we have a Power Kanban on our case entity. So just the use case that I mentioned at the very beginning. So customer service having to manage lots of tickets. And now you can see really all your active cases with just the data that you need. Of course, every company is able to customize the solution to show the fields and show the behavior that it needs. And I think this is maybe also one of the solutions where I considered the most flexibility for the customers, because for each feature that I programmed in here, there's a switch for turning for influencing the behavior, for turning features on and off. So just for being able to customize it for your needs.
Mm-hmm.
And what we basically have now is one Kanban lane for each status reason of your incident entity. And of course, if you would add new status reasons to your status reason, then you would have a new line for it. So it would consider your really metadata inside your system. And I tried to use as much system customizing as possible. So for the colors inside the swim lanes, I took the color values inside the option sets. So I think some might not know it, but you can assign colors to option set values inside the customizations. And there's also quite a lot of other stuff that you can do inside there. So when you drag and drop a tile to a different lane, it shows you which of the lanes are allowed for releasing it. So where can you move to? And when I now go to on hold,
so it obeys the status transitions that we enable on CRM.
Yes.
So it won't allow.
Yes.
So if we say it cannot go from in progress to researching, you won't be able to drop it.
Yes, you can see it right now. So I'm on hold now, and I can't go to waiting for details or researching. Those are blocked because the status transitions are configured like that. I can only drop it in progress or problem solved or cancelled and so on.
That's very neat.
So this is also something that we can do in here. And so you see that there's quite a bit of scrolling involved in here when you have many lanes.
Right.
You can filter your lanes. So you can say I only want to show these three. Then you can just do this in your filter at the top in here. Or what you can do as well is there's an option for trying to fit all lanes inside a view, so that it won't make a scroll bar, but just make these lanes smaller. So this is something that you can influence in the Power Kanban config. But for the default settings, it's not activated. For the default settings, it uses the scroll bar because it's just nicer to read when you have a little bit more space for the tiles, because in Dynamics we tend to have lots of data,
Right.
and gets uncomfortable really fast when you have text areas with lots of text that are only 50 pixels wide. So
Right. And
that seemed to be the best
yeah,
idea.
and I also like that in one single card you have utilized the space so nicely that you are showing the picture of the person, you're showing the name, but you're also showing so much data on the case itself. Like you're showing the name of the customer, the owner, the created on, due date, but also you're showing the priority, the type, and also the where it came from, like web or phone, those kind of things. And I like how you have placed things and not showing it in one single line, and really utilize the real estate that you have on the screen. So I really like that feature.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So a lot of these kudos I think also apply to the Microsoft team, because I was heavily inspired by the stream cards that Microsoft had, and I think the card layout is almost an exact copy of how the cards render in the dynamic streams. So that the headlines just show the values, and I added that on hover you see the field names still. I think the default cards
Ah,
don't do that.
nice. Okay.
The same for the body, because it gets confusing really fast.
Right.
At least to me it was confusing, so I added that. And at the footer then you have the fields
Right.
with the value and with the label.
Right. But then
Um,
now my question is, when you created all this UI, uh, let's go a little deeper, right? This all looks good, but then going deeper when you're developing this kind of tools, what did you use? Like what kind of framework you use? Because PCF, you have to do everything from scratch, and we have options like using React, using Fluent UI, or any other open, like any other libraries out there. So what did you use to design this?
yeah, sure. So the programming language is TypeScript, and TypeScript is really awesome. This was my first really huge project in TypeScript, and I love it completely. It's really awesome. And with the UI, first I started with Bootstrap, but it had a lot of integration errors. It did not work that well inside Dynamics, because Bootstrap has some global stylings, and these clash with the dynamic stylings, so it gets ugly really fast. And I made the move to Fluent UI, and it's awesome. So it looks really neat, as you said, and the documentation is from another world. So usually I'm just used to be told this is the class for buttons, use it like this. And they went even further. They said, okay, for having a nice UX, you have to use it in these places, not in these ones, and you have to make sure that you set these properties. And I thought, whoa, okay, that's really nice. And I tried to stick to these recommendations, and it's really great that they do not only offer the documentation on how to use it, but also to how to make a nice UI and to make it feel nice inside the system. And that's
Right.
really, I think, where they went above and beyond. It's really great.
Yeah, they also provide so many samples. Like each and every case, you would have different samples, so you can play around then and there itself. You can export it to CodePen, and then you can start modifying it in CodePen until you see a nice design that feels good to you, and then you can just copy the code there itself. So I really like Fluent UI. But then, does Fluent UI has a card as well, the card that you have used over here, or is that coming from adaptive cards?
No, these are card forms actually. So I can show to you in here. We have our case forms, and they have the card form in here.
Oh, okay. So you have utilized the native card forms and then just transformed it
Yes,
into
right.
that particular look and feel. Oh, that's amazing, man.
Yes, right. Yeah, so as I said, I tried to keep the customizing as much as possible in the Dynamics standard, because I wanted people to be able to use it without having to learn how to do everything. I thought, people know the card form designer, why should I use anything else? So I went ahead. I know much of the metadata from my other open source projects, especially the form XML because of the translations project.
Right.
So I wrote just a small parser for parsing the form XML from the metadata and rendering these forms on my own.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So when you need a new field or want to rearrange them, you can just do it in here, and you will be able to see it directly inside these tiles in here. And you can even choose. So if you had multiple, you could even choose which one to take from here.
Okay.
So it would be completely possible for different teams to like different views of this entity and to use them as they like.
Okay, but then are you showing the cards based on which are available in the model? Does model driven app allow you to choose? Yeah, it does allow you to choose forms, right? So do you also
It
look
does.
at whether the model driven app that you are in allows that form or not, or you just show all the forms?
So for now, it's all the forms. We had an issue on GitHub where they ask for filtering the views by the model-driven app, and this is now kindly done by the PCF host. So switching to this view selector in here allowed to use the filtered views for this model-driven app by default, but the card forms are not yet filtered. So this might be added in the future, but
Okay.
it's not that straightforward, unfortunately, to find the relations which views are enabled for which app. So of course you can find it out, but you will have to do a few requests.
Right.
It's not yet
Yeah.
implemented.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but anyway, this is really great. I mean, well, normally we would only have one or two. I've not seen people having 4 or 5 cards created anyway for the project. But some projects, big projects, might have them. So that's why I was thinking if we have too many cards, and not all cards are relatable to a group, right? If you have like say 5 groups of teams and each group has different cards, then you don't want to show all the 5 cards here, right? Because each one is having their own individual cards. So those
Yeah,
kind of
that's right.
things.
And
Yeah.
you can still implement it. So what you can see in here is this office waffle in here is the selector for the boards. So it's possible to define different configurations for the same entity, and when you click on choose board, you can just choose which board you want to use, so which Kanban board, and each of them can be configured differently. If you had teams that would like to deploy different sets of card forms, there is already a filter inside the Power Kanban config where you can say, I want to limit the card forms that you can choose to this set, and you can pass the IDs of the card forms that are allowed, and Power Kanban will take care of filtering them out. That's an option that we have right now. So your request would already be implementable, but you have to do it on your own in the Power Kanban config. It would be, of course, more streamlined if we would take it from the model-driven app configuration. And I think sometime in the future we will also see this feature being implemented.
Yeah.
But inside
definitely.
here you can already switch and have different settings. So if you have a big customer with just teams that work differently, each of them can have its own board and choose the one that they like. And of course, you can load Power Kanban with a default board, so that you say, okay, this case is simple that I had now is the default board that loads when you open it, but you can also leave out the default, and then each team can just click on which board they want right at the load, and proceed with the board they like. So that works as well.
Yeah, that's great.
And we also have quite some features that Microsoft implemented sometime before. So open in modal was really a big thing,
Right.
when PCFs got started, and I think it's really nice to have it to not lose the focus inside here. And you can even change the data in here. And when you press save and close or delete it, Power Kanban will reload the data as well. So it really integrates nicely, I think, with what we have in there. So when I make it complete, save it. We see that we have complete two now, and you saw, I think you saw that there was a small work indicator in here. So every time Power Kanban is doing something, you will see that it's working on something. So that was important for me as well, because a lot of times when you have a UX, you click something and you don't know, did it notice my click? Is it working? What is it doing? And I just thought having just a little work indicator in here would be really nice to have. And
what was that split screen though? Is that the pop-up that comes?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's completely custom. That was what I wanted to show as well. Okay. So as I said, I started with Power Kanban development before PCFs were available. So I had in my mind how it should work, but my approaches were not always the same as how they are now with the PCFs. And the split screen function is one of these, and I liked it that much that I did not remove it when I migrated to PCF. So what split screen does is that you can open records beside Power Kanban, and I really like it because when you have a modal, it blocks you. So when I open the modal, I can't do anything in here. Now I have my split screen in here, and it loads the dynamics form for this record in a separated iframe. And now I'm able to work in here just as with modals, but I can still scroll in here and do stuff. So when I want to compare data or something, I'm able to view two records now besides each other, and I can even make it smaller or
oh, that's neat.
Or bigger.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hidden, so you only see it in here because it's HTML default. It's not some fancy library. It's just plain HTML and CSS. Right. But you can move it. And what I think is nice as well is that these forms from Dynamics are responsive, so they really change the layout as well.
Yeah. And that wasn't the case in 2011. Yeah, that's cool. And that's just plain HTML and CSS. You have not done any unsupported customizations in PCF to enable that.
No,
nice.
It's supported and plain implementation inside React. So I just use the flexbox and add a new iframe at the end of the flexbox, and it's totally supported. I don't do anything with document.getElement by ID or anything else like that. What I had in the beginning for being able to hide the navigation was a little workaround, but as soon as I found out that Dynamics supports it natively to show a form without navbar and so on, I just added the UL parameter and I was able to just show the plain iframe in here, and that solved a lot of headaches, and it's totally supported what you're doing here with the iframe.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so those are basically the options. You can open the record inline, so the whole page here will switch to the record. You can open in split screen in a new tab or in the modal view. These are the 4 default open handlers, and you can even choose inside the Power Kanban config which one to apply by default when you click on this arrow. So by default, it opens the record directly inside this frame, but you can configure it to open the split screen as well when you press this one.
Oh, nice.
Just to make it as flexible as possible.
Yeah. So let's can we take a look at the the configuration as well. I'm really eager to see how you have built or structured your PCF because it can take in a lot of properties and whatnot. So I'm just eager to see what you have over there.
So you mean inside the code? You want to see the
Oh
code?
no,
Or?
no, the configuration of the PCF control on the data
Ah,
set.
sure. Sorry, yeah, sure. So for the configuration, let's see. I have to open an advanced find. So it's an entity. I chose to go another way than usual because I thought only using PCF parameters could get uncomfortable really fast because I add new functions every time.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be flexible as well and well maintainable. And I thought it would be best to have them inside a separate configuration. So this is why we have the Power Kanban configs.
Okay.
And these are basically just plain entities with a JSON field. So when we
So
open cases,
these are the Kanban boards that you were talking about. So each team can have their own Kanban boards, own config, so then they can see what they want. Makes sense.
yes, right. Yeah. So basically, what the Power Kanban config always has is a unique name, and this really has an alternate key defined because I already thought of transporting it to different organizations, and I wanted to save users from the hassle of mapping the IDs to different organizations and so on. So I only use the unique name. When you configure it, say the default Power Kanban board is 01 case this simple, it fetches the configuration with this unique name,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no ID mapping anywhere. So it makes it really easy to transport because you can just create the records with the right values and you're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have an entity logical name, and this is used for filtering basically. So when you're on the cases view and you want to select Power Kanban boards, I of course only want to show you boards for this entity. So when you're inside an entity list for cases, I only show you the boards for cases, for incidents in Dynamics terms.
Okay.
And here at the bottom, we have just our JSON where we say, okay, we have one primary entity, it's the incident entity. We want to separate it into swim lanes by the status code field. And for the persona, so the avatar in here, we want to show the picture of the owner ID.
Mm-hmm.
So you could configure any other user lookups in here, or you could leave it out entirely, and then it would auto-generate personas with Fluent UI. So when you have Florian Kroenert as name, it would just print FK in here, just as we are used to from
Dynamic side.
the whole of Office. Yeah. All right. So, but this is only a simple configuration. What I could show you now is that we also have an advanced configuration. Or do you have questions to the simple one in here?
This is pretty straightforward. So no questions.
Yeah, I think so. All right. So let's move to the advanced one. So it's not so fast in here because I'm sharing my screen and because the caching feature is disabled. So Power Kanban has a caching feature which speeds up loading times dramatically, but it's disabled by default because I got so many requests on GitHub saying I created a view, but I can't see it in here. And finally I said, okay, we'll switch it off by default. And when you go to production, think of enabling the caching. But that's it. And now we're on an advanced board, but you see it's still the simple view. And what we can do now is we can click here and say advanced. And now you can see, this is a good example. You see it's complete to overhaul in here. So it's one of the cases that we saw previously, and it still has the same fields. So we have hi, problem, web, and our text. But what we have now is that this tile from before has now become a container by itself. So you can still see in which swim lane it would be itself because you have this color code here at the left. So it's still blue, like it's Kanban swim lane. But in addition to that, it also hosts its tasks now inside of it. So we now see a task, a case with all of its tasks. And this is really beneficial when you're dealing with with entity spanning business processes. So
Right.
just like this in here with cases and tasks or opportunities and quotes, stuff like that, where you really have one parent component, but you also have work below that where you need to track what's going on in there. And this allows you to really have the view on just one record, but also in depth. So you can really see by scrolling through, okay, I have one task, one case, but there are still 2 tasks that I have to do to complete it. So it's really, really nice for being able to get a quick, really complete overview of what's going on for this record.
Right.
And inside the advanced views, we have filtering. So we're not showing any records that don't have tasks. So this is why you only see one case in here, because the others don't have tasks right now.
So the others would just be below this main container. So the second container would be below the first one, and
Yeah,
so on and so forth.
we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. So I think I also didn't show you the search functionality. So let's do that on our way to create a task. Let's just enter climate here and press enter. And now we can see that we have filtering inside in here as well. And it also highlights where it found your match.
That's nice.
So that's also a nice feature as well. And when we go now here into the buttons, it's only in advanced dashboards you have also a create new task. So of course it's not only create new task, it knows which is your secondary entity, and you will get a create button in here. And now when I click it, I will get a quick create, and I can just type something in here and save it. And now when I go to advanced, let's see, we can refresh. Okay, that's weird.
Oh, because I think so your search is still on, right?
Because I was filtering.
Yeah.
It filtered.
Yep.
I think it filtered. Yeah,
There you go.
okay,
Yeah.
my bad. I was
No worries.
wondering what happened now, but it's because of the filtering, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
of
is
course,
cool.
that's what it does.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so, like, this is actually a product, right? I mean, you made this available for free and to the community, and this is amazing. Like, so much things. I've worked with PCF, and I know how much work it takes to build all these features like search, navigation, filtering, and drag and drop and things like that. There's so much stuff going on in here, and this is a full-fledged product that you have built, my friend.
Yeah, I know. Initially I wasn't too sure whether I should sell it or distribute it for free. I was really thinking hard about it, and at the very beginning, when it was not yet public, I thought, well, maybe somehow we can get it started to put it in the marketplace or something like that. And I began researching how do you do that, and that's when I discovered that I absolutely don't have any interest in in doing sales stuff. So as soon as I started considering it, and I live in Germany, so it's also really strict in here with taxes and so on. You would have to register a company, and that sucked. So I did not want to go that way, and I noticed how I started to do less and less development in here, because these legal topics just slowed me down so much. And then at some point I said, screw it, we'll do it open source. And I think it was a good decision after all, because that was when it made fun again, and when I could get me up again and do a lot more stuff in here again. So I guess I'm just not a businessman, so it might be stupid, but that's just how I am.
I agree with you. I mean, I love open source, right? And I like creating tools and then sharing it with the community, making life easier for others, even developers or functional people. It just makes you feel at peace. So that's what I feel about community. So
Absolutely, yes.
This is great. Loved it. Now, while we are at it, can we also have a sneak peek of the templating interpreter that you have built as well? So
Yeah,
switching
sure.
gears.
Yeah, sure. So for being able to show you that properly, I would just go to the next Kanban board and show you something. So we're going little bit out of order, but that's no problem for me. So if it's fine for you, then we'll just go to the notifications, and I'll just show you what's going on in here with notifications, and we'll clear this one for now because that's too early. Okay, so everyone knows YouTube. There's a slide chance you're even watching this on YouTube. So YouTube has this subscription system. And I thought, well, that's really a cool system to say, okay, this channel interests me. I want to subscribe to it. And anytime something of interest happens in it, I want to be notified. And I thought, well, that would be really cool for Dynamics cases as well. So I don't have to check every morning, did something change or did someone write me an email, but just to go into the system and see, okay, I have notifications or I don't. And because I like how YouTube handles it, I implemented it the same way. So we have two entities which come with the solution, so subscription and notification. And what you can do is you can subscribe to a record. So you can now go to the simple view again. I think it might be a little bit easier here. Yeah. So you can see this tile now here has a new control. So this ringer in here.
Mm-hmm.
So the bells, and we now see that it's crossed out in here, so that should signal us, okay, you're not subscribed now. And what I can do now is I can click in here for subscribe, and subscribe with email is for the templating. So what we can do now is let's start with a simple subscribe maybe. We subscribe, we see it's working, and now the crossed out bell has disappeared, and now it's just a plain bell, so we're subscribed. And Power Kanban is not only front end, we have some back end plugins as well. And inside these, we can just configure plugin steps with JSON configuration, which tell Power Kanban when this record is created or when these fields change, then this is a notification-worthy event. And all users that have been subscribed or that are subscribed to this record should be notified. And this is when every user who is subscribed receives his personal notification. So he will get a notification just for himself. And when he decides that he has seen what this notification is about, he can hide it for himself, and it will not influence notification for other users. That was often a pain point when we discussed how to do notifications for users inside Dynamics projects, because you could, of course, add a notification text or something to a form, to a field or anything like that. But as soon as the first user would clear that field where you have the notification, other users would not be able to see it.
Right.
And with this possibility of per user notifications, every user can now be notified on his own. So let me think. Yeah, I registered it to change of due date. So when I open it in modal now, and I change the due date, not as fast as I would like it to have, but it's always like that. Okay, so let's see. All right, and now you see the bell has become red, and you can even filter for it. So when you load it up and you see the bell is red, you can click in here. Previously it was not filled, now it's filled. So this means we're filtering for records where you have notifications. And when you click on the bell now, you get the split screen again.
Mm-hmm.
And this time it shows you a list of events. So it says your case was updated, click to open. And when you click now in here, you would be able to navigate to this case. So it would just open the case in a new tab. And what I have above it is, I sometimes call it auditing light. So it's not really auditing, but Power Kanban keeps track of which fields changed. So you can configure which fields are relevant for the user, which fields should be shown as overall. So when you would have 10 updates for this case now and 10 notifications, you don't always want to view which change happened after which notification. So usually you want to see what's the data now.
Right.
And this is what Power Kanban does. So across all notifications that you have in this list, it takes a look which fields were changed. And for each field that was changed, you get one entry with the current value. So this is the value it currently has. And for everything else, there's auditing. So no need for duplicating this feature.
Nice.
All right, so this is a plain notification, and there's even a little. Let's try it. A little other feature. Let's see if it works. Yeah, you see. So we now navigated to a different entity, and I added a global ribbon definition to Dynamics inside my solution. And this is not a ribbon or a button that you see, but in the enable rule, I check whether you have any notifications that have been configured to show a global notification. And this is what you can see here at the top. So you have a new bar in here which says some of your subscribed cases have been updated, click to open. And when you now click view notifications, it will take you directly to Power Kanban. So this is just a feature that I thought would be nice, that you don't have to check to Power Kanban every time if you have notifications, but anywhere where you are in the system, you just get a notification bar at the top.
Yeah.
Of course, you can switch that off, but for the demo, I switched it on because I thought might have some nice use cases. And I already saw in the Dynamics release notes that there will be some global notifications here at the right side of the screen, so by Microsoft. And I hope to make an integration with the Power Kanban notifications. That would be really great if I could integrate to the default notifications that Microsoft displays at the right.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. Yeah, this
yeah.
is really awesome.
Yeah.
What you have done with this product.
Yeah, but sorry, I did not yet show what you asked for. So this was just a simple notification, and for receiving notifications by email, you have to subscribe with email. So you just do a subscription, but not with subscribe, but with subscribe with email. And now you have this email icon here, and you know, okay, I'm subscribed. So when I open this one now, and I enter a due date in here, so now we have our notification.
And then you would also get the email.
Yes, I would get an email, but this is a trial organization. I don't have any Outlook or Office web app or Outlook web app postbox configured in here. So we'll just take a look at the email as it is in Dynamics. So my design decision was to put this email that we just created as a related activity to your notification. So this is your notification. It does not have a name right now. You could give it a name, but Power Kanban does not do that by default. And the benefit of having these emails have a regarding to this notification is, as soon as you clear your notifications, these emails are gone from the system as well, because of course the relationship between the notification and the email can be set to cascade the deletion, and you don't have to clean up your system, because when you use it for a year or so with many users, you will have lots of emails which are just for notifying users. And by having it in here, we don't have to take care of that. cleans up by itself. So when we go to activities now, we can show all because it's sent, of course. Right, and here it is. So it says your incident and the case number has been updated, and below you have just an HTML email. So this is not the best looking email that I ever did. I promise. There are better looking ones, but it suffices for our needs, and you can see that it has HTML elements. So we have images in here, we have headlines, we have styling, we have data, and you may notice it or not, it says hi Florian, so it is able to fetch data from the system and insert it inside the email, and we can include action buttons and so on as well. So when I click it, it actually opens these records in here.
Right.
This is possible in here as well. And so you might wonder how you can write these. See if I have it still open. Yeah, I have. No, I don't. Sorry. So let's see. The entity which contains it is HTML template. And this is a part of the HTML templating solution that I talked about at the beginning. So it's again a modular solution. So it seems everything I did is some kind of modular because we have really some projects where we put everything together, and it just integrates nicely. So with this templating language, we have the basic part, which is the interpreter. So really the plugin part, which is able to do text templating on entities. And we have the HTML templating part, which allows you to do HTML templating inside your system with a drag and drop. What you see is what you get editor. And so I wrote the integration for the what you see is what you get editor, but the editor on its own is not done by me. It's an open source HTML editor, and it was created by Unlayer. So it's named the Unlayer React HTML editor, and it's really nice. So basically, it looks like a PCF. It's not yet. It's still a web resource, but there's no usage disadvantage in it as of now. So for these templates, you can give them a name, a unique name, and a subject. And this is also the subject that maps to your records. And it does not have to be an email where you're doing templating. You can do it everywhere where you want. You can use the templating language on its own for generating salutations, for formatting addresses, for filling in default names. And you can use the HTML editor for doing HTML templates for emails, but it could also be for knowledge articles. We tested it in our business, and it integrates everywhere. So the HTML, which Microsoft parses in knowledge articles and so on, really gets along with what we do in here.
Okay.
And
but then what does email underscore notification underscore incident underscore ticket number means? Is it going from email to notification to incident? Is that the hierarchy of the relationship that you are notifying here?
Yeah, so I think this example here is a little bit easier. You can see that you have a $sign and 2 curly brackets. And this is the signal for XTL, which means now inside this we'll have a template expression. And we have functions in here. So here at the top you see the snippet function, and here at the bottom we have the value function. And the value function is doing exactly what you said. So it takes a path of logical names separated by dots. And this is a path that XTL knows you want to retrieve. So it knows that you're starting on an email because that's what the target from your plugin is. And now it knows you want to go to regarding object ID. And if it is not null, you want to go to owner ID, and then you want to go to first name. And since this is the last part of our expression, it knows, okay, if none of these paths is null in between, it fetches the first name and inserts in here. So we saw it said hi Florian, so it found its way through to my data. And this is just the most basic expression that is available here. We can do if-else logics, we can execute fetch XML and even render the output from fetch XML as HTML table. So when you're doing order confirmations in your system, you can send your your customers directly from your system a formatted HTML table, and you can say these are the products that you have inside your opportunity, for example. You can just print it inside an HTML table, and it's really a pain in the ass to implement these HTML tables. So it was really for me a milestone to have a predefined function here for doing stuff like that inside Dynamics.
Nice.
And
Yeah. So this is a nice preview of what the templating language that you have created, and sometime in near future we'll probably schedule another call to go over this in detail, because I want to give justice to this particular templating language as well, and I don't think so we can suffice that in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We need a dedicated 1 hour at least to talk about this. So this is a nice preview, and I think so this is also a good time to talk about your main tool, the Power Kanban. So switching gears again. So few questions on it. Can you also you already showed us how to download it, right? But then if people have any issues, or if they have like enhancement requests, how can they log those, and where can they log those?
Yeah, so inside GitHub I have an issue tracker, and if you have any issues or questions, you can just head to GitHub. If you don't have an account, you can create one for free, and you can write me inside here, or maybe even look inside here if someone else already reported issues or questions, and I'll answer your questions usually very fast. And
Nice.
it's not only questions about configuring it or using it. Power Kanban also has lots of hooks for being able to add your own code. So for being able to customize Power Kanban with code to your needs. So you can add custom buttons. You can add code to status line transitions. You can color the tiles based on your needs. And you can even show your own dialogues and input from your users on status transitions. So if we still have time, I could also show that I have a short use case for custom coding. I know I'm probably...
Sure. Why not? Let's do a short demo of that as well.
Yeah, so it's really fast, I guess. So let's close this one, and now you can see it became colorful, at least a little bit. You can see this one in here has a green top border, this one a red, and this one a yellow one. And what this is about is the due date. So for this, I said I write a custom JavaScript, and I can load it to in the Power Kanban config. I just can put the path in there and the callback, which should be executed from my custom script, and Power Kanban will do it. So in here we have a due date of today, and the custom script said if the difference between now and the due date is less than, I think it was 24 hours, make the top border red. If it's I think above 1 day, it will be yellow, and if you don't have a due date or it's still farther in the future, then it will be green. So this is what I implemented in here, and what you can see as well is you don't even need code for customizing it. So this was a really long text before, and just by applying or by adding a CSS style sheet to this, you just need to put in the path of the web resource to the configuration. I can load my own style sheets, and every tile has some blank CSS classes. So they are named D365 Power Kanban case tile, for example. and all the fields have a custom classes as well. So when you add your CSS style sheet, you can just say for all HTML elements that are Power Kanban elements for case and where the field is description, clip all the text to 3 lines. And this is what it does. So we had customers who said, okay, that's way too much text for displaying. We only want to see the top 3 lines. And now you can do it with custom CSS styling, and it's really flexible. And a lot of stuff you don't even have to do on your own. So, for example, when your source data contains HTML, Power Kanban will automatically use a Node.js package for converting this HTML to plain text and showing the plain text in here. So we are already doing lots of stuff with data for showing it in a more handy way. And what you can do as well is if you know case management, you know that you can't close a case just like that. You need to put in some close reason, how much time you spent, and so on. And that's what is implemented in here as well. So when you take a case and put it to problem solved, now you get a custom form. And this is really done purely by code. So this is nothing from the library. There's really a callback now inside your customer code, which says, okay, Power Kanban, please call my function when a tile moves its lane. And then the code checks, is the lane problem solved? If not, just let Power Kanban do its thing. And if it is the resolved or the solved lane, then Power Kanban, please stop what you're doing. I want to show a form. And you can even say subject is mandatory, time spent is mandatory, and description, and you can pass in the types. And even lookups are possible. I can show it later on. So when I say now closed.
So this is something that you can configure, and this form is something that is part of the Power Kanban, but then just by configuration and specifying which attributes you want to show, you are just displaying the form, right?
Yeah, right. So the host for this form is a part of Power Kanban, but not what is inside it. So when you have a script, this is the script that I'm using for our demo actually. I think it's already opened, which is why it won't come to the front. Yeah. Inside these callbacks, you can define what Power Kanban should display. So this is the function that is running. So window.boardViewExtender.onStateTransition, and this is inside our Power Kanban config as callback. And this is a function which receives a Power Kanban context, and this context can be used for retrieving data from your target. So this is the target, a little bit misleading. It's not the target like in plugins, not the record, but it's the target swim lane where you put it. So these are the option set values. And now you can call a function on the context which says show form, title is resolved case, the fields are subject, type of text is required, and here's the help text, and so on. And if it's a lookup, you can even say let you insert a fetch XML, and Power Kanban only allows you to select records which match this fetch XML. Right, and everything in here is done with the latest TypeScript features. So we have async await everywhere, and this is also why this context show form is promise based. So once the form result has happened and it was not cancelled, you can proceed to use the Web API client or any other library for updating the case and telling Power Kanban, okay, now you may proceed, but you don't need to do anything anymore. I handled everything myself. So this is why you return prevent default true. So this is how you can really write your completely own code for customer projects. And it's not only for status transitions, you can even add custom buttons in here. So I plan on adding support for the ribbon. So this is a little drawback. When you're using Power Kanban, you can't select records in here. I plan to implement it really soon, but I need to think of the optimal way of implementing it for allowing the selection. And then you can use the ribbons here at the top as well. For now, you can only use the custom buttons. And when I click one, I can define my own logic. So usually you'd show a form, and you can even define the icon, how it looks. So in here I said these are all the Fluent UI icons. So you can just pass in the name, and Power Kanban just takes one of the Fluent UI icons.
Yeah, so are these all these features, because there are so many intense things that you can do with Power Kanban? Is any of this been documented, or how would people know what they have to access, which context they have to access, and if what's available in that context?
Yeah, so we have, so for getting a rough overview, we have the impressions section. So you can see we have a simple view, we have an advanced view, form view, we have custom dialogues, we have our split screen, we have modals, search. Okay, so these are mainly usage things. But in addition to that, inside the wiki, we have a configuration section. And inside here, I first state roughly how you can configure it, so where the entities are, what they expect, and so on. And then I have lots of JSON configuration examples in here. So just a basic configuration with a secondary entity, one with a transition callback and notification lookups and so on. And I also have a JSON scheme. So I created a whole JSON scheme, and you're able to go to the JSON schema validator. And when you copy when you insert my JSON scheme in here and take one of the configurations and possibly adapt it, you can just put it in there, and it says, okay, your JSON is valid. And if I now put in anything in here, so if I misspell anything like that, it says, no, that's not known. So I'm a little bit split on this. So the functionality on this website is great, but of course I would like to have it inside of the system so that you don't have to leave Dynamics, but to have it inside there. But for now, as I have limited resources, this is how it's done right now.
Yeah, that's fine. At least they have the ability to check their JSON against the JSON schema that you have provided.
Yeah, and for each property in there, you have the type, the name, and the description what it does, and if it has, also the default values. So I hope that it explains most of the questions that arrive, but I hope that it does not look way too technical, because I think JSON already scares away more people than I am comfortable with. So,
well, I love JSON.
Yeah, me as well, but we have to take a broader view, right? So we have lots of consultants that want to configure it as well, and of course we don't want to scare them away.
Yeah, but then you are at least giving the ability to expand upon what the Power Kanban can already do. So Power Kanban can do all of the things that normally you would like to do in a Kanban board, but then you are also giving them the ability to extend it more than what the Kanban is doing. Right, providing the custom code, providing the custom forms, and I mean this is amazing. I mean, really, I don't have words to describe this. Like how much efforts you have put into this, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really much work. So it should be something like 2 years now. But I have to say that the last year was not as much going on as in the first year. So the first year was really where things were getting implemented really rapidly. And for the last time I had really a lot of work at my company. So in the evening, when my family was in bed, I was so exhausted that I said, okay, no, today is not a coding day. I need just to switch my brain off. And this has been going on for quite some time. But now, just right now, I'm on vacation at home, but at vacation at least. And I think it could be the beginning of more work on the tooling. I
Nice.
hope so, at
Nice.
least.
So, do you also accept pull requests? So, if anyone is eager to help you contribute to the Power Kanban that you have built, which is an amazing tool by itself, but then if someone is able to help you with the pull request, will you be willing to accept those?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, when they're reasonable. So I'm really happy over anyone who wants to contribute it. So it's not by choice that I'm the sole user inside the XIM OSS organization. But yeah, if anyone wants to contribute, I'm more than glad. So inside some of the other repositories, such as the Web API client and so on, there are already accepted pull requests from other users. So if you want to get your hands dirty and work with me on it, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
more than glad to help you get boarded. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Florian, it was glad to have you on the show, and then looking at this awesome tool, Power Kanban. It's amazing what you have done with this, and yeah, obviously it took you a lot of time because there's so much functionality in the tool. It's obviously that it's going to take time to build those kind of functionalities. But also thank you for giving us a sneak peek on the tool that you have built, the interpreter tool that you have built, the scripting tool. And I would like to discuss more into that at some point in future. But for now, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It was really a pleasure talking with you and being able to show what I have done in here, because I can do as much as I want. If no one uses it, it's not of no use. So
Right.
if it helps people to find the solution and to use it and to profit from it, I'm more than glad.
Yeah.
So again, thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. So you saw, Power Kanban is not just a PCF control, but a product by itself. It has so many features involved. It does your subscription, it does notifications, it has the advanced view setting, it has the sprint board, it has the Kanban board, and not only that, you can even extend it by writing your own code or provide your own style sheets. It's so many features, right? It's just amazing. Now, if you want to connect with the guest, the links are provided in the video's description, and also the link to the GitHub repo is provided in the video's description as well. Now, more important thing, hit the like and subscribe for my channel for more such content. And see you in the next episode of the DevConnect show.